besides thanking Alicia, I want to thank the American Bird Conservancy for their efforts, their campaign to help us get the neotropical migratory bird authorized. Many people have assisted with that effort, but ABC has really carried the standard into battle here, and we really appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to do two things very briefly this morning. One is I'm going to run very quickly through a brief update of the Act, what it's about. Most of you know already what it's about, with a couple of quick project updates, on-the-ground project updates. And then I'm going to talk more about the reason we're here, which is threats, gaps, and examples, and particularly with regard to this program, this grants program that actually implements conservation on the ground. Where are we going with it? Where should we go with it? We want to hear your comments as well. So, very briefly on PowerPoint. This is, of course, a competitive grants program. It's hemispheric in nature. You know, it takes a couple of things to do on-the-ground conservation. It takes trained, experienced people like yourselves. It also takes some funding, and you know, our sort of universe of coverage here is not all birds, obviously, but we figure we covered 340 some species that occur in the U.S., and that's a big chunk of it right there. That's probably half of what we have in the U.S. I get nervous when both of our previous speakers talked about the billions and billions necessary for conservation. We obviously don't have that kind of money. You'll see on the slide, but we do have the 2009 appropriation is not decided and probably will not be until at least January or February. And you know most of this stuff already. There's a heavy match requirement. Most of our funding goes to Latin America and the Caribbean. Just some summary figures so you know what we've done. The program has been in existence for about 8 years now. We're in our 8th year. Notice the 4-to-1 match we've been able to get over the years. A good argument for us. Again, 341 species. This program targets the long-distance migrants that breed or pass through the U.S. and spend the non-breeding season in Latin America and the Caribbean, and provides us some direction in our work. Just 3 quick examples of projects, and I'm sorry if I didn't include yours. We have so many good ones to choose from. Let me say that. This is one in Alaska. You heard some talk about impacts of climate change in Alaska. This project with the Wildlife Conservation Society, and just a couple of facts and figures so you know the scale that we're working on. There is concern over oil field development and how it might impact nesting birds, and this is an attempt to look at that very issue. Here's the project area. Don't you wish you were a field biologist again? It's hard for me to look at this. This is the Shekpuk Lake region in the National Petroleum Reserve. Here's a stilt sandpiper, which is one of the subjects of this research. Field biologist from WCS in action. Preliminary data suggest that, in fact, let me see if I can get this right now, undeveloped nesting areas like at Shekpuk Lake are showing a lower increased nesting success versus sites that are involved with oil field development, increased predation from things like gulls and Jaegers. And there are various theories for that. Okay, so again, this Alaska project is not an advocacy project, it's getting the, which can then be used for things like, are there ways to mitigate impacts from oil field development? Let's move to Nicaragua, an FFI project on an island in Lake Nicaragua called Ometepe, where we're talking about a country which has not had a lot of funding or personnel available for protected area management. In this case, they provided some capacity building, instituted some basic monitoring, did some community outreach. Here are the first 4 park rangers at Volcan Madeiras National Reserve. Some outreach to local schools in the island region, and some mist netting, getting some basic biological data to support reserve management. A third example in Colombia, this is the Alliance for Critical Ecosystems working in the dry forests in the northeastern part of the country, the dry forests of the Caribbean region. You can read the objectives there. This is actually a slide from our new project on Saturn. No, not really. This is the apiary project. Was a sub-element of our project that is looking at sustainable economic alternatives in communities around the forest. A tree nursery that was developed in this indigenous community, and an eco-lodge, which I would really like to spend a couple of nights in. Ecotourism is one of the objectives of this project. Okay, let's just like to talk briefly. How are we doing here? We're good on time. What I really want to talk to you about is, where does this program go from here? We think we've had a relatively modest-sized program that has had some success on the ground. What else can we do? You can't obviously talk about this very much without talking about money. This is a grants program. What is the future look like for funding? Well, in terms of federal appropriations, it should be fairly obvious that the future is not particularly bright. I mean, thanks to the efforts of our colleagues, we know the message is getting to the appropriators that, you know, this is a good program, it's highly leveraged, et cetera, et cetera. We appreciate that, but